This one comes from the Reverend Graham. Thanks, Rev Graham. Father Simon, this confession has been weighing on my conscience for 40 years, and I feel that now is finally the time to unburden myself. It's always slightly more of a frisson when you know it's a priest who's about to unveil. During my final few years, as it were, at secondary school, we had a barking mad headmaster who was obsessed with making the most trivial announcements over the school PA system. Should have my loud hailer. Darn it. It all started during the 5th year prelim examinations when our headmaster had continued to make ridiculous announcements which reached into each and every classroom in the school. However, it was particularly bad in the assembly hall, as here the system consisted of 3 large and very loud speakers above both of the doors up onto the school stage. As you can imagine, in the middle of an exam, having your concentration broken by a booming voice requesting some poor soul in the first year to kindly report to the headmaster's office was just a little bit irritating. One day when we were all gathered in the assembly hall, we were asked if there was anything that could be done to help us during the exams. Yes, someone suggested. Could the headmaster stop using the PA system? Now, a perfectly reasonable request, you would think. Unfortunately, the headmaster didn't think so, as he continued to break everyone's concentration with his booming irrelevances during the exams. We don't need to know that it's steak and kidney pie for lunch, for example, headmaster. Just over halfway through my history exam, consisting of 6 essay questions out of the 8 questions set, the tannoy boomed into action, throwing everyone's concentration out of the window. How was I expected to pass? By the time I reached the 6th year, enough was enough. I'd been appointed a prefect in my final year, so when we were asked what the school could do to help us during the examinations, I once again requested that the headmaster stop using the wretched PA. To which the reply was once again he would try and keep his announcements to a minimum. However, we knew that the reality was he would go on making announcements no matter how irritating it had become to all the pupils sitting their exams. So between myself and Bob, the head prefect, we decided to take drastic measures. That lunchtime I went home and raided my father's toolbox, and armed with a screwdriver and a set of pliers, I returned to the school. Bob and I went into the assembly hall, and while Bob kept watch, I climbed up onto the handrails for the stairs and then up onto the stage. This gave me access. Can I just ask at this point, Joe, were you ever a prefect? Or a head girl? I bet you were.
That was it?
No, just one. No, you weren't. Bobby?
No.
Oh, okay.
Were you?
I was a prefect once,
Were
but
you?
I had my badge taken away because I put my feet up during hymn rehearsal.
Oh.
But I got it back.
Cardinal sin,
Anyway,
yeah.
so that's fine. Anyway, I climbed up onto the handrails for the stairs up onto the stage. Our producer would just like it known that he was a prefect. Head boy,
Head
in fact.
boy.
This is getting better and better.
I don't think we had head girls and boys at our school.
Yeah. Were you actually voted for? Did they vote for you? Was this before the days you
Did you
actually
rig it?
voted? By default, no one else got it. Anyway, back to the Reverend Graham. This gave me access to the conduit and connector plate for the wiring for the stage loudspeakers. Carefully unscrewing the back plate, I used the wire cutter section of the pliers to snip the wires in the connector box and then screwed the plate back in place. Just to be on the safe side, I did the box on the other side of the stage as well. The result was that there were no announcements that exam session. Not in the hall, anyway. The head had been talking into the microphone like normal, so the rest of them got the news about the broken radiator in the science lab, the cabbage for lunch, and that Digby Minor had gone home with a temperature, like we needed to know. But we in the classrooms and corridors heard nothing because I had done all the disconnecting. And for quite some time after that, nobody heard anything because, Father Simon, here's the thing, I don't want to ask forgiveness of the headmaster. He was an idiot anyway, says the Reverend Graham.
Very peeved.
I don't want to ask forgiveness for the pupils either, because we all benefited from my act of wanton vandalism. I don't even want forgiveness from the teachers who, in appointing Bob and I as prefects, had given us a position of responsibility where we were expected to set an example to other students, and I think we did. Well, I seek forgiveness from the sound engineers who apparently were called in to try and trace the problem, and they took over 3 weeks to find the sabotage parts. It is to them that my call for mercy goes. Now, as a grown adult and a man of the cloth, I feel that I need to seek forgiveness and clear my troubled conscience. The school was knocked down several years after I left, and houses were built on the site. A brand new purpose-built school was then built at Ross Hall with a perfectly good and working PA system. So all's well that ends well. I suppose if the school is knocked down, then, it obviously wasn't going particularly well, was it? Anyway, Reverend Graham, casting aspersions at his head, who he describes a couple of times as an idiot. So
No way. Can he be forgiven? I mean,
so, what do you say, Joe?
call yourself a priest? No forgiveness here whatsoever. I hope you've been into a confessions booth or box somewhere and actually properly confessed this sin, because we can't possibly forgive this. Poor sound engineers.
Because of the sound engineers picking up the tab.
Well, it's just a very bad thing to have done. It's a bad look. Very bad look for a priest.
All right, not looking good, Rev Graham. What do you say, Bobby?
Well, I'm going to disagree completely, because I think what you asked for, Reverend Graham, and you weren't a reverend then, was something fair and reasonable, and it did look after absolutely everyone. And of course, the head teacher didn't listen. It was fair, it was reasonable, it was necessary to do it because basically you had no choice. The other thing is, it wasn't wanton vandalism. You just snipped the wires. And the other thing, you're only asking for forgiveness of the sound engineers. If the sound is coming out every other speaker but the ones in the hall, the sound engineers equally taking 3 weeks to find it. Surely you check the wiring in the speakers. That is obvious. I blame the sound engineers completely. It's simple. The sound is coming out of everywhere else but this room. Let's check the speakers in here. 3 weeks. That's ridiculous. I think the sound engineers knew exactly what they were doing and taking 3 weeks. There you go.
Who rattled your cage?
Rev Graham, you are completely forgiven.
Wow.
For everything.
Wow.
I am very annoyed that I forgot my loud hailer to bring it in. So if anyone's got a confession that they'd like to send in, which actually involves a loud hailer and a tannoy system,
you'd go for that.
It'll be good.
See, I was brought up to respect authority. I'm shocked that you're forgiving.
Well, so the thing is that, some authority is wrong, and sometimes you have to do the right thing to do the wrong thing to do the right thing.